G'day and welcome to the Mailbag Sydney review. It was a pretty solid card there at Rosehill on Saturday, and although there was a bit of rain forecast and the track was being downgraded, it probably played a fair bit better than that given the results just going through the SPs and looking at the way that the track's played. Is that the way you saw the day unfold there, Mark Shean?
Well, the Bureau of Meteorology, they were tipping Armageddon. I don't know if they did the track rating for Rosehill as well, because that was about as close as the forecast. Heavy 8. That was very misleading.
Certainly.
It's amazing that the track can't improve from when the 6:30 in the morning till the first race at 1 o'clock. There never seems to be an upgrade. Only a downgrade if it rains, but it is never upgraded.
Mark Rhoden, I'll hand that straight to you.
Yeah, completely agree. It was, I reckon the track was on the better side of a 6, maybe a 5 from race 1. And people had done the form for... I mean, everyone knew it was going to improve because the rain didn't arrive and the weather was hot. But, completely misleading track rating.
Yep. The official punting form data is going off a soft 6, but certainly the figures suggest that it's every bit, even slightly better than that. Rob, for yourself, how'd you find the day in the yard?
Okay, we found enough winners, just didn't bet them in the right kind of way. Unloaded on the losers and small bets on the long shot winners, but, that's punting, hey?
Yeah, well, I think there's plenty to go through this meeting anyway. It does look like one that we can follow going forward. We'll start with race 1 and then we'll review the features, races 4 through 8. Race 1 was 1100 metre, benchmark 78, slowly run race for the class. They've gone 2 lengths slow to the 600, and Ander Matt has defeated Volpine, and there was a gap to Sapphire Crown. Rob, I'll start with you. What did they look like in the yard?
Decent bunch here. On the lead's always a horse that I like the look of. I think I sent out Valmaster on top as he looked quite forward and even kind of, sharp to my eye. I couldn't bet him at that price. The winner looked like typical of the stable, half shorter run, but they often run very well, fresh like that. So I wasn't, who was in the numbers. In Fanciful Dream, I had a small place bet the place on that to kick my day off. It looked absolutely perfect. I thought, the softish track would suit it. In my mind, I didn't have this track as heavy. I just thought with the 2 days of sun we had, it couldn't be, worse than a 7. So, good race. I'll be looking at the 11 to, had no favours. I'll be looking for that to improve, its manners and, with better luck in running, I think it can do something. It's a decent type of horse.
Mark Shean and Matt, in the end, came in for a little bit of support there late. What did you think of the race?
Well, the thing about Andermatt was that his first 2 runs in a race, he had flopped out of the stalls. In his 2 trials this time back, he'd actually jumped in front. So he'd obviously improved dramatically from last time in. Very good run behind Anders there over 1,100 metres when he flashed home. And he was able to take up a more prominent position. Favourite got a little bit fizzy just as they went onto the track and jumped poorly, and I think he was out of play after 1 stride. He just got in an awful position and started to pull his head off, lost his action in the straight and wanted to hang out as well. So maybe a forgive run, I'm not sure. We'll have to see him back on dry ground or drier ground, but Andermatt certainly got a nice run and is a big, strong type. He'll continue to improve.
Mark Rhoden, you also had a bet on Andermatt on the day. What was your thinking behind that bet?
Basically, that there was just far too big a gap between Valmaster and Andermatt in the market. And the market itself actually sort of came around to that conclusion late. Maybe it had something to do with those yard factors Mark mentioned, but the gap between them narrowed a bit. I suppose it's a forgive run. He was pretty plain, though. He was 3 wide, but it was in a very gentle pace, so it shouldn't have been the end of the world. The connections have tried to blame the run on a heavy track, which as we've established, wasn't actually heavy, so it would be used as an excuse. Jury's out for me. Just have to mention Volpine. I don't know if she can go anywhere from this, but she's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 up into this. She went to a new level to win at Canterbury, went to another new level to beat Exotic Ruby at Warwick Farm, and has held that again. I mean, the pattern and the tempo really suited her, but this is, extraordinary for a horse so deep into its preparation to keep performing at a totally new level for it.
I bet they wish they'd ran at Canterbury on Friday night.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, let's jump to race 4. That was a Group 2 Millie Fox for the fillies and mares. Rob, this is your wheelhouse for the most part. Subpoenaed has won fast run race, 2 lengths fast to the 600, so genuine tempo despite the relatively modest or small enough field. Rob, winner Subpoenaed, Madame Rouge, how did they look? Because they cleared out from the rest of these.
Yeah, look, I had a bet on Madame Rouge. I've always kind of liked her, and Subpoenaed's one of these horses that this only ever caused me pain, and she's caused me pain again. I was never comfortable. I thought Madame Rouge was half slow away, and then he got a little bit held up in the straight. She looked perfect first up, I thought, forward to my eye. Subpoenaed looked like it strengthened up a little bit, so it's in for a really good prep. She's ideal, come back really well. Well, actually, with a fair bit of improvement in it. But it's a horse with proven first up. Runs well first up. Positive piece. I can never catch it. It's not one of my horse. Asiago looked forward for the stable. Girl Tuesday, not too bad for it. First up on a hot, humid, sweaty. She usually can get quite hot, but she didn't. Leave it to Mark. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, well, Subpoenaed's done a good job here. She was one of the few horses to cover ground, but she did get cover, but it might have won the race, actually, because Madame Rouge and also She's Ideal got bottled up on the inside there when Subpoenaed had the fly down the outside. She did hold them pretty comfortably at the finish, though, and I think she had a little bit left in the tank, but I agree with Rob. I think she looked a little bit stronger. She's always sprinted well fresh in the past, even though she didn't have a great deal of luck last preparation, first 2 runs. She did run well on both occasions. And sort of the brakes went away here just on the turn where she came down the outside and the others just held up for a run. I thought Madame Rouge paraded outstandingly. She looks in great nick. She's Ideal, ran on well. Positive piece, I didn't really like the look of her coat, and she may improve with racing.
What are we doing with Madame Rouge, Mark Rhoden? Are we just waiting for her to turn up in Melbourne and win a race down here?
Yeah, it seems to be her go. She's come back really well. This race is rated very well. It's a new peak for Subpoenaed on my stuff. Looks like it is on punting form as well. I was impressed by she was the only horse really to settle in the second half of the field for the day and win, I think, as well. She settled third last. Did get a clear run, but that she's put the time on the board. Madame Rouge losing no admirers and a great return from She's Ideal. Should be a good form race. Just to illustrate, things like Asiago, who looked to have every chance, been well beaten, has sort of run to one of her figures, So she's just been beaten that far because the first 3 have gone so well.
Okay. Positive report there for Subpoenaed, as you said. It's recorded 9 lengths above on the all-average benchmark for punting form, so that is a career PB first up for the prep. All right, race 5, Silver Slipper for the 2-year-olds, Group 2, over 1,100 metres. Home Affairs featured a fair bit on this show, narrowly defeated Rocket Tiger. Very fast for the class. They've gone 7.5 lengths fast to the 600 here. Rob, 2-year-olds, plenty going on. You liked Tiger of Malay, though, in the yard, didn't you?
I had Home Affairs and Tiger of Malay about equal, and I backed them to win the same amount.
Yep.
I had to follow my money on Home Affairs. I think I said the other day that 2-year-olds can improve first or second start. It looked great, but Tiger of Malay really did impress me. I remember that in the spring being athletic type. Now it's a beautiful walker, and it's got some power and muscle, whatever. His coat looked great. Richard Friedman's got 2 of the best 2-year-olds in my mind, and that's up for a possibly a Group 1 down the track. I don't want to say too much after what I said about Peltzer, but I think Tiger Malay is in for a big prep. Little Rocket Tiger had that 3rd in the numbers. I thought looked at top, perfect. The other reason I wanted to bet is I just couldn't have the 1, and they kept backing it. Polale, maybe trust the SP there, and I think can improve a lot. Mark Shean.
Yeah, I agree. Polale looked awful in the yard. I tipped him on the previous show, but he just had the 1 soft trial and he went to pieces in the yard, so you couldn't back him. Home Affairs paraded brilliantly, and he just had that improvement with the 1 run under his belt. I'm still not sure that this is slipper form, though. Overall time was pretty slow at the finish, and again, a little bit bunched. He might be better on a dry track, this horse, and ridden a little bit colder. It's the only advantage I think that he's got, that he's racing well on wet ground, and he's more a dry track type.
Yeah, he's improved the best part of 5 lengths on that first performance to the second, but Mark Rhoden certainly doesn't look overall like as Mark Shean said, a slipper performance.
No, this wasn't. But that's always a tick, improving first to second start.
Yep.
Just those other factors. I mean, the market hasn't fallen into him. I think he's still around the $17 mark for the slipper. So the market itself is treating that form with a fair degree of caution, and I think that's right. I mentioned to Rob last night, I think Tiger of Malay could be a size prospect more than a Golden Slipper horse. I don't think this race is going to produce much in the way of Golden Slipper contenders. So even though Tiger of Malay's run was good, I don't think he's going to beat the best 2-year-olds at 1,200 metres. But yeah, slow last section again from Home Affairs. So the only positive is that he has made improvement first to second start, but he has to do it again, at least, to contend with the best.
Okay, race 6 was the Parramatta Cup, over 1,900. Listed race, Sacramento just controlled things out in front. It was a very slow tempo though, 5.7 lengths slow to the 600. Rob, run us through these middle distance horses.
Sacramento paraded well again. He does get sweaty, but that's him. His coat was still had that real lovely glow to it. Dedue's Dart seemed to have backed up really well. Some psychopath took $1.80 on the corner for that horse. Can you believe it? So I got a half back. Mustache, I think he looked better last year. I remember having a bet on him in this race last year. He looked very forward, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of him. I think I had the second horse in the numbers as well. He looked out top, pretty much perfect. But other than that, I guess, you know, Sacramento's just an honest Gay Waterhouse thing. She'll run him until he drops.
Yep. Mark Shean, what are we doing with this race?
Well, Sacramento was the query if the track was heavy, but it wasn't heavy, and he'd won in this sort of ground about a 5 at Randwick a couple of starts ago, and there was no pace in the race, and he just controlled it. So he's done a fantastic job this preparation. No luck first up, and then he's put together 3 on end. Dedue's Dart, well, he probably wanted a heavy 10 and didn't get it. He was very one-paced, and I think he's out of the club. I don't know where you go after that. Just a bunch of plodding stars, really. So Canterbury ran okay. There was a bit of a tip floating around for him. He came off the winner's back, but wasn't quite good enough. Sacramento just controlled it in front, and he will get further. He'll get 2,400, 26, 28. So, you know, he could be a fly in the ointment once these races get a little bit longer, and if he gets left alone in front.
What did you think of Paths of Glory first up?
Well, he's a pudgy type, isn't he, Rob?
Yeah,
he looked a couple of runs.
Yeah, he looked a bit fat. I think he won in a big price second up when my Surface Pro pen wasn't working. I saw him kick back and win at about, hit 100 to 1, and I'm tapping away wondering why it's not working. Remember that? It was at Randwick. He was about 40s. It was very, So, those little pens for the batteries for the Surface Pro pens, they're hard to find.
I was going to say, what is it, like the quadruple A batteries or whatever they are, those real tiny things. Yeah,
exactly. I'm wondering why my screen's not green. I'm looking down at it, just kicked back and won. It was a sad day. But yeah, look, he's a good horse. He's a nice type. He'll improve. I kind of like him. I like Richard Friedman as a trainer. He seems to, get good quality imports. He seems to pick good quality 2-year-olds. He's flying.
Mark Rhoden, what's the appeal with Dedue's Dart? Because it's had however many runs now. What is that? 5, 6, 7, 8 starts in Australia. Hasn't really done anything. Hasn't placed so far.
Yeah, well, I think whatever it was, it's worn off now. Really been one of mine. I thought there might be a race in him, but that was very plain. I mean, stinking old Mustache ran past him in the last 50 on Saturday, so yeah. Just Sacramento again showing the value of a good, fit, honest, informed horse who races on the speed. He won the 2,800 metre race, didn't he, in Melbourne last?
St Ledger, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe Sydney Cup, if you can keep him up that long. But, I don't have a great deal to say about the Beaten Brigade, to be honest with you.
Okay. Let's have a look at the Hobartville over 1,400, the Group 2, because that's clearly the race that has the most interest for me going forward. It's slowly run race, 3.5 lengths slow to the 600. Rob, we had a first starter in Australia from New Zealand, this Aegon, I think is how we're saying it, for Baker and Forsman, who have brought across quite a few good horses over the years. How did this one compare?
He's a little bit kind of athletic, smallish horse, Dundeel was a bit like that. Maybe Dundeel was a bit chunkier, but he's sort of similar size. Not a big horse. I thought he looked kind of, sharp, almost in the yard. He was very, very kind of, just ready to go. He knew what it was about. So, I think I had him third in the numbers. This is another one for me, just not knowing who they are. Just like I got it in my head that I wanted to back Peltzer here, and I've sent out the first 4 and I've done my ass on the race. It's disgusting. North Pacific really improved. Mark Shean was waiting for its coat to come, and it really had. And Prime Star really, really come on, and he showed a bit here. I think he settled outside the leader or something. I was expecting him to go back, so I thought, how can you back him? But he's showing a bit more versatility. I like the Eleonora. It's been one. I think I backed it on Melbourne Cup Day in a 3-year-old maiden. What's happened to that Kermit Dashing?
It trialled the other day. It's on its way back.
Okay. Mark Shean, what did you make of this race? Because it's slowly run. You've got this Kiwi winner out of Sacred Falls who obviously would have appreciated the wet a bit more. What are you doing in the beaten brigade?
Well, look, I thought Peltzer would be the horse to beat, the way the track pattern was. He did sweat up a little bit more than usual forward of the saddle, which he doesn't normally do, but he is a free sweater normally. I did walk over to Rob 10 minutes before the race after watching Ole Kirk and Crosshaven just beat the ambulance home in Melbourne, and I said to him, these 3-year-olds might be no good, but it still didn't do me any good because I didn't back Aegon. When he came into the yard, he not a very imposing type, let me put it that way, athletic, and obviously no wonder Max Baker keeps his runs spaced. Like all his runs had been 4, 6, 11 weeks apart, so obviously that's the reason, but he's got another good one on his hands, obviously better than the Australian 3-year-olds, put it that way. Whether he measures up to a Doncaster, who knows, but he hit the line quite strongly here and was too good for the locals. Okay, King's Legacy as a 3-year-old, how's he returned? Well, he was a bit one pace, wasn't he? Probably wants a little bit further and maybe a little bit wetter. I thought some of these ones at the back were a bit plain. The Eleonora, I thought he paraded well and hit the line okay late. Probably had a bit of a break, so once the races get a bit longer, I wouldn't sack him just yet. But, the jury's out on these 3-year-olds, and I should have juried to that. Okay. Mark Rhoden, the tempo was slow. The overall figure's pretty ordinary. What are you doing with the form of this race? Are you giving anything an excuse?
I thought Lions Raw's run was okay, and he'll be better over more ground. He showed that in the spring. This is the other winner, obviously, that settled in the second half of the field for the day, apart from Supreme. He came through inside, didn't circle. He's rated well. He rated up to the kind of figures he had at his best in New Zealand, the figures I've had access to anyway. And he's got a base to go to another level. Yep. Which, I mean, these Australian 3-year-olds have really shot themselves in my opinion now as pretty average. But that's interesting. I remember speaking to Rob on Saturday. You weren't taken with him as a type, physically. And if he isn't going to stand up to all racing, they're going to have to really pick one target and stick with it. I see he's $3 favourite for the Rosehill Guineas and he's $7 favourite for the Doncaster, but it sounds like going for both would not be advisable given his physical makeup. So, that's just a decision they're going to have to make. But very astute camp, I'm sure, whichever way they go, will be right in whatever race they set him for anyway. Sorry,
Murray Baker, it should have been. I said Max, didn't I? That's a moment of dementia there. But it is interesting whether he's got 2 runs in him where he can back up within a fortnight or so. That's the theory. But master trainer.
On just theoretically, a horse, a 3-year-old going to the Rosehill Guineas, then dropping back to the mile for the Doncaster, I would really like. But this might not be the go for this one.
And if it's a heavy 10, what do you make of him then, Rob?
I think he's every chance lightly framed. Well, I wouldn't say he's lightly framed, but he just nice walker. I think he'll get over it very well. I think heavy track, no problems. I think he's by the Sacred Falls. Is that right, Mark Rhoden?
Yeah. Absolute swimmers.
Absolute swimmers. So he's a bit of a wet track type, and he's by a wet track sire. So I think no issue there. But what about Peltzer back at Randwick? If we get $8 in the Randwick Guineas, I think we'll have to have something on there because maybe he's just a Randwick horse, unbeaten.
Unbeaten at Randwick, and yet to strike a blow at Rosehill. Incredible.
Yeah.
I guess it does happen. Well, look, figure of the day goes to Emanate in race 8. They've gone fast for the class, 2.5 lengths fast to the 600. Overall figure, 12.4 above on the punting form all average benchmark. Rob Scurry, I'll start with you. How did Emanate look in the yard as well as some of the beaten brigade?
It's a bit like the thing in the first, you know. I thought looked very like Andermatt. I thought looked well, a bit soft, parading relaxed, nice, decent enough type. So yeah, no knock. I think I said in the numbers, but I was kind of taken with Handle the Truth. Is not one of mine. He's certainly got not one of my jocks on, but bless his little heart, he bobbed up for third for me, which was great because I needed him to. Munitions was an import. I thought an okay type. I think I had him in the numbers. Space Boy seemed to hold his condition from the start before. I thought he looked well again, but yeah, Black Magnum seems to always run well fresh. He was maybe a bit more forward than I've seen him before, and he doesn't mind a bit of sting out of the track. And he looked the winner. I'm sure he would have traded pretty short there, but Rachel King firing through for a fourth winner, I think, at this stage.
I think that was right, yeah. Mark Shean, what did you make of both the winner Emanate and this foreigner Munitions having its second start in Australia?
To my eye, Emanate looked a bit fitter than she did at Randwick, and pattern of racing last time in was that she improved basically every start. So she's on the upward spiral. I thought she'd win, but I didn't think she'd put them away like this. This was devastating the last 100 metres. She might have gone to another level, and maybe black type is attainable. Munitions, just a bit prancy, a bit pretty boy in the yard, I thought. So maybe jury's still out for me. I thought Flat Heaven looked great before the race. I thought this was a very good run. Missed the start. They had no luck in the straight whatsoever, and there was a bit of mail around to say that it run well, and I think with even luck it probably could have even run a place. Handle the Truth looked great, as Rob said, but I think Emanate and Flat Heaven, the two that I'd want to follow out of this race.
Yep, Mark Rhoden, a monster PB for Emanate. Best part of 10 lengths, better than a previous performance for her.
Yep, just illustrates a point we were talking about on the previous show with Dicko on Thursday about weight. We were talking about stayers in that case, but it applies here for sure. She's been carrying higher weights against her own age and sex last prep and last start as well. She's a horse with a turn of foot, and when horses with a turn of foot drop sharply in weight, that's when they can just go whoosh. And this one has, 2,000 metre welter horse dropping from 58 to 52 in an open handicap, not going to go any faster, so don't worry about the weight drop there. But these things that can run fast, when the race is there to be won, they're the ones that a weight drop really advantages.
All right, beautiful. Are you following anything out of this race besides the winner?
No, Flat Heaven was the one I marked down. It didn't have any luck, and Robert given it a bit of a rap pre-race as well.
All right, that brings us to the end. It's a pretty comprehensive review of all the main races there from Saturday at Rosehill, but I'll get a horse to follow or two from each of you. Mark Shean, I'll start with you.
Well, I think Andermatt's got more wins in him for sure. He'd probably head towards the Arrowfield, so he'd be up against the good ones coming along. But I think I got a lot of time for this horse, and obviously race 8 there, Emanate and Flat Heaven. I think it's a tricky sort of day to follow because it was a biased track again and a wet track. Allegedly on a heavy 8.
All right, Mark Rhoden, a couple to follow for yourself.
Perhaps not in the absolute A-grade races, but I think they can win during the autumn. Tiger of Malay in the 2-year-old division and Lions Roar in the 3-year-old.
All right, and Rob, couple out of the yard that impressed you the most and think they'll improve next start.
Tiger of Malay. I want to see how Palele parades next start, because that's a big, strong type who I don't think would be suited on a soft track, and could parade a lot better. So I know that 2-year-old race hasn't rated that well, but I think there's some money to be made there. Outside that, I just want to take it as it comes. No big predictions.
Okay. The week ahead, we've got Gosford on Wednesday, Wyong Thursday, last Friday night at Canterbury this Friday, so I bet most form judges and punters are looking forward to that being over and done with. And then Newcastle and Randwick on Saturday. Mark Shean, you've got the Chipping Norton, the Surround, both Group 1s on Saturday, as well as the Guy Walter and the Sweet Embrace. Anything that's taking your eye?
Warwick Farm. Used to be the old Warwick Farm meeting there, but you're not allowed to go there on a Saturday anymore.
Why is that? Like, I remember that being the case when I first started punting, but was there a reason for the shift?
Yeah, they've spent $11 on it in the last 25 years. That's why.
You can get some classic TVs out there. Something from like 1986. You're watching this. It's amazing.
I tell you what, you can find some shit on the seats out there. I know that.
I've snapped a few of those seats leaning back after a win or a loss. Like you lean back, whoa, pull the buckle out. It's OH&S issue. Get onto it, ATC. Anyway.
Very good.
It'll be a good meeting. We've got the first lead up to the slipper there on Saturday. The Colts and Geldings and the fillies, and the Surround's always been a good race over the years. So the jury's out on the 3-year-old fillies as well. I suppose Montefiore will come back first up in that race and take them on over 1,400 metres.
Yeah, this will be a Rob Scurry kind of day. It's just getting into peak season for you, Rob.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, looking at my results over the years, there's good months and bad months for me, and generally the lead up to the carnivals is where I do my best work. Anyway, don't want to say too much.
No.
But yeah. The other thing I say, Randwick is a bit closer to Maroubra Mark Shean than Warwick Farm. There's a bit, convenient.
Well, that's right. We saved $20 on tolls.
Yeah, that's it.
Very good. And Mark Rhoden, another busy week for yourself. They all seem to be, but you'll start to quieten down a touch next week.
Yeah, we've got the 5 meetings in 4 days again. Canterbury finishes up this week, the Friday night. I've been winning it. I've done nothing but chip can Canterbury for months and months and months, but the last 3 or 4 meetings I've won, so yeah, there you go. I shouldn't be bemoaning the end of the season. No.
You can look forward to it resuming at some stage next year or later this year, and the bias returning, I'm sure. Yeah. Thank you to you all. We'll catch up later in the week for the preview, but until then, have a good week and go well.